Hi again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Alumni Chats, a weekly podcast featuring alumni from the Department of Broadcasting and Journalism here at Western Illinois University. My name is Buzz Hoon, and I'm the host of the podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Tom Kenny, a graduate of this university back in 1983. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you so much. And I hate that you have to say back in. That makes it sound like a long time ago, but I guess it was.
Oh, not so long ago in my memory either, though. So we are kindred spirits there. So, Tom, can you give us a life update? Where are you and what's going on in your life?
I'm coming to you for this podcast from Lexington, Kentucky, which we often refer to as God's country, where I have been working here since 1984 in television.
That is terrific. And, you fortunately, you never lost your Midwestern accent. You don't have that Southern drawl at all. So you sound just like you came out of Illinois.
That's right. And proud of it.
So you grew up in the Peoria area. Can you talk a little bit about how you came to WIU and when did you first kind of get the idea that you wanted to work in the media?
It was, in a way, kind of pushed toward the media. And yes, it was. Born and raised in Peoria, Illinois. And I was fortunate in that I was involved in athletics and had some success. And I was an All-American high school basketball player at Spalding Institute, which no longer exists, but was very involved in athletics and again, had a lot of success and was recruited by a lot of top schools. And my senior year, I unfortunately suffered a career-ending knee injury.
Oh, no.
So I was not going to be able to play college basketball, which that was my dream, to be able to go on to do that and get an education and hopefully someday even go on to the NBA. You know, every kid's dream who plays basketball, right?
Sure.
Because my life really was consumed by athletics. And so all of a sudden it just abruptly ended. I thought, all right, well, I can't play sports, but how can I stay close to sports? Well, I was only 18 years old, so I wasn't going to be a coach. I still had to go to school. So I thought, well, if I can't play sports, I can broadcast sports. And so that's how I kind of transitioned from the world of athletics into the world of covering the world of athletics. And so my first paying broadcast job was 1979 as the public address announcer for the Bradley Braves baseball team in Peoria. I think I got $5 a game and I thought I was rich.
Oh, what an awesome experience to get in front of a microphone for the first time and actually kind of get your feel for what it's like.
Absolutely. And I had no idea what path I was headed down, but I knew that's the path I wanted to go. And I was open to whatever was going to happen.
So you make your way to Macomb. And when you do, you got involved, from what you said, for all 4 years. Can you talk about your experiences that way?
Well, I know that so many students get to school and they're maybe not sure what they want to do. And so they have to take those first couple of years and get some of the required courses out of the way and find their way. I had a huge advantage in that when I went to Macomb to Western Illinois University, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So the moment I stepped on campus, I was going to get involved in everything broadcasting and journalism. And that was a huge advantage because that did give me 4 years of being immersed in the college and in all of its great programs that gave you hands-on experience. And that's priceless. To any student who is watching this, hands-on experience. Yeah. That's what you want to consume. Have an insatiable appetite for that, because that's the biggest thing you'll have going for you when you get out of school, trying to find a job.
So you worked at WIUM,
Yes.
and while you were there, which is fascinating to me, I always love finding out about our university history. You were broadcasting sporting events on WIUM, and you actually got to travel some with the team. Can you talk about
Yes.
that?
Yes, I was very fortunate in that, as I said, I wanted to cover sports. And so I was able to get involved and immediately became the play-by-play voice of WIU football, basketball, and baseball for WIUM, which was a 50,000 watt clear channel radio station, a National Public Radio affiliate, credible, great instructors, great direction, great young student talent. And so, yes, I got involved right away and was able to travel with the teams. And I broadcast all of the Leathernecks home and away games and was able to do that for 4 years.
Wow.
What an experience.
That is unbelievable. And one of the persons that you mentioned as a mentor, not only with some of the people that were working here at WIU, you mentioned Larry Derry, a name that I'm also very familiar with, a great person. Can you talk about Larry?
Yes, I wanted to also get involved, not just at WIUM on campus, but also I went to the local commercial radio station to see if I could help in the sports department there. Again, I was very aggressive in trying to get as much hands-on experience as I could. And Larry Derry was the legendary sports director at that commercial radio station in Macomb. And I don't know whether I just badgered him enough that he finally caved in, but he allowed me to start doing play-by-play for the commercial radio station for Friday nights, high school football games, high school basketball games in and around the Macomb area. Because as we all know, high school sports, huge, really popular. And this gave me an opportunity to do some commercial broadcasting as well. And I was able to get into that on the ground floor and really get great experience going forward. And Larry Derry was a great mentor. The fact that he just talked to this annoying kid who was coming over from the university is a credit to him. But he taught me so much because Larry was all about preparation. Yep. You know, you hear luck a lot. Oh, you're so lucky. He taught me that, and it's a great quote from the late Branch Rickey, who owned the Brooklyn Dodgers. Luck is the residue of design. And that really is true. But Larry was always hyper prepared. And for anybody who is going through the college right now, watching this, regardless of what direction they're thinking career-wise, no matter what you do in life, if you are prepared ahead of time, you have a leg up. Because things inevitably go wrong, right? Yep. It happens, whether it's technical, whether it's things that you can't control or things that you can. Sometimes bad things happen when you're trying to do something. And if you are prepared, you minimize the damage because you're prepared to handle everything. And here's a little tip for everybody too. And this is how I've really gone through my entire career. I don't prepare for anything for it to go right. I prepare for it to go wrong. So if it does, I'm ready.
Yep.
Because so often it doesn't go like we planned and expected.
I think that you and I are very much alike in that the fact that in sports broadcasting, you have to be ready for something to not go right. So you have to have always backup plans and think about how you're going to react to that.
Yes. Just like a reporter going out on a story. You can have a sense of what you think the story is going to be about, but it doesn't always turn out that way. And you have to be prepared, recognize it, pivot, and adjust accordingly.
Now, before we leave our WIU memories, I also want you to talk a little bit about you were involved in fraternity life. And so you were very early on involved in some of the leadership positions of that. And not only that, you were named homecoming king. What a great honor. I'm talking to a homecoming king. Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. Boy, it was a lot of fun. It really was. And I did get involved in fraternity life again, my very first semester there. I mean, I dove in Macomb head first because the president of this particular fraternity, which was Theta Chi, was from Peoria. He was 2 years older than me, but I was best friends with his brother growing up in Peoria. So he reached out to me, and because I had known him, it felt like all my life, and said, hey, you know, you should get involved. That gave me an opportunity to meet a lot of people right out of the gate. They had a nearly brand new, beautiful home on Wigwam Hollow Road.
Yeah.
And it was a terrific experience. And my sophomore year, I ran for president of the fraternity. This fraternity started in 1974 in Macomb, and it had never had anything but a senior president. And they're like, you have no shot of getting this. But I happened to win. So by my sophomore year, I was president of a fraternity where we had over 100 members. We had a staff. I had a secretary. We had a cook. So I had to learn things about workers' compensation insurance, had to manage a payroll, had to manage 35 other men who lived in the house and all of those who were off campus. So that was a great learning experience. One time during holiday break, some of the pipes froze and burst in the basement. So you can imagine what that was like. So all of a sudden I was like a homeowner, at the age of 19. So again, a lot of life experience early on, but I had a great, great experience with Greek life in Macomb because it was really strong. And it taught me a lot about leadership. And I had a mentor within the Greek community, Vic Bushini, who is still one of my best friends to this day, a mentor of mine. He's now chancellor at Texas Christian University, has been wildly successful his entire career. And we literally stay in touch regularly. He gave me a card, and kind of an inspirational card when I was at WIU. I literally carry it on the inside of my coat pocket every single day and regularly pull it out.
Wow.
He's had a tremendous influence on me. He pushed me to do things that I never thought I could do. He saw more in me than I saw in me. Even though, again, I was very type A and, trying to be aggressive and get out there. But he pushed me even more, and not just within Greek life, but in academic life, personal life. And, those are those relationships that you can form at great universities like Western that really do last a lifetime.
Wow. And one of the things that before you left as well, you had an opportunity to interview a White House correspondent, and that got you on not only locally, but you got a national story out of that?
Yes. Again, we were a national public radio affiliate at WIUN. And so we carried all of NPR's programming. And then NBC News chief White House correspondent Emery King was coming to campus for a lecture to journalism students and anyone else who wanted to come and listen. And we were able to get a one-on-one interview with him. Again, remember, we're going back into the early 1980s here. And that interview ended up being carried on NPR nationally out of Washington. So could you imagine how heady that was for me?
It's amazing that all these things happen to you to help prepare you for what you were then going to have happen in your career. It's really almost like somebody had written a story, and you were the person that were going to star in this particular film or story.
And look where the foundation was laid.
Yeah. By
Western Illinois University. Because it wasn't known as the quote unquote broadcasting school. You know how we love to put,
the names
titles and on different schools, and Western is the business school or the law enforcement school. And it was supposed to be Southern Illinois University. Carbondale was the broadcasting school.
That's right.
Well, we made Western a broadcasting school because I don't care where you go and what it's known for, you make it what it is. And I can tell you, as I mentioned earlier, I came across a lot of fellow students who were so talented. All of the professors, experienced, thoughtful, knowledgeable, open to help with anything. Then those platforms, whether you were working on the campus TV station, the campus radio station, WIUM, there was a tremendous amount of opportunity that Western gave me that I may not have gotten at a lot of other schools. And I've forever been grateful for that.
Well, I think it's something about the underdog status as well, that we work a little bit harder than everyone else as well.
Sure.
So, Tom, when you graduated, you start working in local radio, which we were talking a little bit beforehand as well. You stayed at WJQ. You were the news and sports director there, I believe.
Yes.
And you started a call-in radio show, which a sports radio show, which is just terrific. I mean, again, because sports radio eventually became such a huge, has become such a big thing. But you were doing that as soon as you got started.
Yes, right out of school. Again, I knew that I wanted to still pursue radio because even though I had taken television production and been involved with on-campus television, really my focus was radio just because I had more experience in that broadcasting arena. And Bill Clark was starting a brand new radio station in Macomb, a commercial radio station, WJEQ. So I thought, hey, well, I love Macomb. I would be more than honored to stay here. After I graduated, I immediately became a member of the alumni board at Western and was so still heavily involved in the university as I had been as a student. And that was important to me because I wanted to give back to the university that had given so much to me. And Bill Clark was foolish enough to hire this 22-year-old kid right out of school to be his first news and sports director. And yes, when you talk about a sports call-in show, people listening will be like, so? But you have to remember the tenor of the times. As we're going back to the early to almost mid-1980s, radio was kind of a dying art. Public radio was struggling. Talk radio had not made its comeback yet because everything in our business is cyclical, right?
Yeah.
And it's trendy. State of the art on Monday is old by Friday. Let's move on to something else. Whether it's radio, TV, newspaper, it's very trendy. And radio was struggling. And again, talk radio is so prevalent now, but it wasn't then. It had kind of died off. So anyway, I thought, well, let's do a sports radio call-in show, and we'll do it with the head football and basketball coach at Western Illinois University. Now, again, that sounds like a no-brainer, but nobody was doing it then.
No.
And the late Bruce Craddock was the head football coach at Western Illinois University, decorated Marine veteran who sadly died far too young of cancer. But we started a show called The Craddock Connection. And Leatherneck fans from all over could call in and ask the coach questions. We'd have players in. And it was a lot of fun. It was very successful. Jack Morgenthaler was the head basketball coach. And Joe Dykstra was there at the time for WIU basketball, one of the greatest free throw shooters in the history of NCAA basketball. A lot of people don't remember that, but I sure do because I called all of those free throws that he shot and made all of those years. So it was just, again, I keep going back to hands-on experience. You're learning every day, and make no mistake, I'm making mistakes every day. I mean, to this day, I prove that I'm human every single day. Unfortunately, it's usually in front of a camera and hundreds of thousands of people. But again, I always tell young broadcasters now, forget the mistake, remember the lesson.
So, Tom, people are probably wondering, how did you get involved in television? And your career path starts out in radio, but how did you? And I love this story. Can you please share that?
Sure. I happened to end up leaving WJEQ after a time. Great experience. And I was working for ABC Radio Sports out of Chicago, covering the Bulls and the Bears and the Cubs. Again, a great experience. And I would do the reports that would be available to any ABC affiliate all over the country, where you would wrap up a game and that type of thing. But I was trying to transition into television. Well, the only television I'd ever done was what I had done at Western Illinois University, which, yes, I had it on tape, but it was limited. And it looked like I was a student doing television in a university campus. And so that probably wasn't the strongest resume tape going out there because, in broadcasting, everybody wants to do sports, right? I want to do sports. So the competition is incredible. But I still put together the resume tape while I was working in Chicago, and I sent it everywhere, to the smallest market in Glendive, Montana, to Peoria, because I thought, oh, I would love to be able to go back home and broadcast in my hometown. And I did this for 2 years, and it was just rejection, rejection, rejection. It's that catch-22 that a lot of students are going to run into. You're trying to get your first job. You have limited or no experience, but what does everybody say? You have to have a minimum of X number of years experience. But if nobody gives you your first job, how do you get that experience? That's where I found myself. And after 2 years and a lot of rejection and a lot of frustration, and then when you're like, you know what, this is just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm on the verge of giving up. And well, I'll just go back to Peoria and find whatever job I can. And there was a news director in Lexington, Kentucky at the NBC affiliate, Dave Cromwell, who was foolish enough to look at my resume tape, I guess saw something, either that or he was really desperate to fill the position. And excuse me, he brought me down for an interview. So I drove down from Chicago in my 1968 Chevy Impala that one of the floorboards was rusted out, and I had an old beer case bottom that was covering that. It had no heat, no air conditioning. So I drove down to Lexington. I interviewed on a Monday and a Tuesday because you have to meet everybody, right? And with schedules, it just took that time. So I interview on a Monday and Tuesday. They offer me the job Wednesday. I accepted it Thursday and drove to Lexington on Friday and started the following Monday. And when I got down here, and again, I'm going to date myself, there wasn't GPS. There weren't even cell phones. You were still looking at a map. And I'd never been to Lexington, Kentucky before. I had no idea where I was. And when you'd ask some people for direction, they're giving me landmarks. Well, go over to the so-and-so hotel. Well, I don't know where anything is. So it was not helpful at all. I had no place to live. I jammed everything that I owned into my beater car. And I literally slept in a grocery store parking lot in my car the weekend leading up to when I was starting my new job because I had nowhere to live. And I didn't have any idea where I was going. I was just praying I'd be able to find the TV station again to be able to start my job on Monday. And I have been here. This was 1984. I've been here ever since.
Wow. Not only did you then start into your career in television, there was a time where you took a little respite where you went into professional baseball as well. How did that happen?
Yes, because I was with the NBC affiliate for 16 years. And in that time, I started in sports. I was the weekend sports anchor and then reported sports 3 days during the week. And I was what they then called a one-man band. Now they're known as MMJs, multimedia journalists, which what that means is you do everything.
Yep.
You shoot all your own video, you record all your own audio, you do all your writing, your editing, you carry all of that equipment around, you get yourself where you need to go. You're doing it all. And I did that for 7 years, worked my way up to sports director, then transitioned into news and weather. I started doing weather, studied meteorology, and then eventually worked my way up to main anchor. And I was at the NBC affiliate for 16 years. And I have a dear friend here, Alan Stein, who is a dreamer and a doer, wildly successful in broadcasting, but on the sales and management side. And he had always had this dream of bringing professional baseball to Lexington, Kentucky. It had been here decades ago, but there had been a drought. And he approached me and said, "Hey, will you help me realize this dream? I want you to help me bring pro baseball to Lexington." And so I thought about it and I said, all right, I'll do this. I'll give you 2 years, but then I'm going to get back into broadcast journalism. It's not all I know, but it's all I've ever done. And so I started with him. I think there were 5 of us who started to try to bring this baseball to Lexington. I think we had 3 chairs and 2 phones, and there were 5 of us.
Wow.
So do the math. But we were not going to do what everybody does and go to the taxpayers and say, we want you to help us buy the team and build the stadium. Because that's what everybody does, right? And if you're not successful, then there's a lot of taxpayer backlash. And so this was going to be a privately funded operation. Long story short, we were able to do it. Excuse me. I rose to vice president of the company, and we became an affiliate of the Houston Astros. So I went to work for the Houston Astros, and we made it happen. We used no taxpayer money. We built the stadium, bought the team, and was involved in every aspect along the way, which again, another tremendous experience. And I was in charge in part with communications and marketing. And it happened. Finally, in the year 2000, we became the Houston Astros Class A affiliate, won the championship, the South Atlantic League championship in the first year. And so I was there before they existed, and I was there after that first season. That was my 2 years, and that's when I said, all right, we've done it. Now you've got your baby. Pro baseball is in Lexington. It's wildly successful. Roger Clemens rehabbed here because he was pitching with Houston and so on and so forth. And so then I had to try to get back into broadcast journalism. I didn't even know if there would be a job in Lexington. It didn't matter that I was well known and had been here for almost 20 years. If there's not a position, there's not a position.
Right.
Well, fortunately, at the ABC affiliate here, WTVQ-TV, they had an entry-level general assignment reporting position for $20,000 a year. I interviewed for it, got it, hired, and now I've been at that station for 20 years.
Wow. And along the way, I want to talk about, because you have had such a wonderful list of achievements and recognitions. So just sit back and let me talk a little bit about this. You're the only broadcast journalist in Lexington television history to be honored with a National Edward R. Murrow Award. Also, you've been nominated for 13 Emmys. You've won Emmys for anchoring and your reporting. You've received Associated Press awards for reporting and anchoring. You've won an Addy Award for excellence in promotional writing, and which is the last thing, just remarkable, the Silver Circle Award by the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, one of the highest honors that group bestows. Now, I know that's not why you do your job. You do your job because of the person that you have been over all these years. But it must be nice to be recognized for doing it, at least in a professional, in the right manner.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great honor, and it's humbling. But no, I don't set out to win awards. I don't do things to win awards. I'm a broadcast journalist. I'm a storyteller. I impart information. That's what I do for a living. And if somebody along the way recognizes me and says, hey, we think you're doing a good job, that's just icing on the cake. But it has been a tremendous honor to be able to be recognized over the years. It was interesting. You talked about the Edward R. Murrow Award, and it was a national award because they give regional Edward R. Murrow awards. But the year that I won, I was an investigative reporter for many years, and we gave a rare glimpse inside the world of the witness protection program. And the year that I won was the year of Katrina. And so you go to New York for the awards ceremony, and I'm literally, sitting at the table with Tom Brokaw and Dan Rather. I mean, the heavyweights.
Wow.
The whole room is just full of network people. And then there's this one guy from Lexington, Kentucky, who is sitting at he was like, what's wrong with this picture? How did he get in? Did he get by security somehow? But that was pretty heady stuff, to say the least.
Wow.
I'm like, well, I've made it. I've arrived.
Yeah. That sounds like a wonderful dream come true. That's what it sounds like to me.
It really was.
Yeah.
And I remember I'd come back from a story and I walked into the newsroom and everybody stood up and applauded. And I didn't know maybe I thought I just got fired and they're saying goodbye. And the news director came and said, you just won a national Edward R. Murrow Award. You're going to New York City.
Wow.
Yeah, wow is right.
Exactly. And not only that, Tom, when you think about all the changes in technology, the way the business has evolved over all the years, and you've maintained such a presence, you know, I think that it's one of those things like how did you manage to adapt? Is it just being able to have that inner desire and willingness to be a person of change, to not be afraid to leave for a couple of years and come back?
I think so. I have an insatiable appetite to learn. And in our industry too, you often hear it referred to as he or she has the bug. They've got the bug.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got the bug back in the late 70s, and I've never lost it. And in our business, and for everybody who's thinking of going into it, folks, it's humbling. It will humble you on a daily basis. And once you start thinking that you're pretty good, that you've made it, and you've arrived, and your head's starting to get a little bit big, there's a built-in correction in journalism and broadcast journalism that'll knock you back a few steps and put you in your place. And so that has helpful. I've had a career. I often say I have spent my career pursuing excellence, not power. And there's a big difference. And I see a lot of the opposite in the industry. There's a lot of ego, a lot of attitude, a lot of, well, I just want to be on TV. I think that'll be cool. You can't do anything. You have very little talent. You may be attractive, because let's remember, it's a superficial industry, right? Attractive people get on TV. But if you can't do your job, you'll be weeded out. So all of those factors combined, you are forced to change. The technology forces you to change. And here's my built-in disclaimer. I am the least technical person on the planet. I am so technically impaired. It's horrible. And that's what I see now, the generational difference, because we get a lot of students who have just graduated from colleges and universities come into our newsroom for their first job in Lexington, Kentucky. And they are so technically savvy, so much so that more than I ever was or am today. But I have strengths in other areas where they have glaring weaknesses. But I've done my best to keep up technically, and it's put tremendous pressure on broadcast journalists. Because when I first got in the business, we were still shooting on film and splicing it together. And if we went and shot a house fire, we probably couldn't get it on the air until the next day. We had to splice it together and develop the film and then load it onto the big machines to play it on air. And think about our world today. Everything is instantaneous. Everybody has a cell phone. Everything is caught on security camera video, cell phone video. And it's instant. No matter what happens or where it happens on this planet, the viewer, the news consumer, expects us to take them there immediately and have all the information.
Yep.
That is tremendous pressure, because people can also get their news in more places than ever before in our history. So what are you going to do to get them to choose you as the source?
Yeah.
That is a challenge.
Yeah. So as we kind of wrap up here, Tom, and I certainly appreciate all the things you've given to our students already in terms of advice, but I'm sure some of them would still say, can you give me a basic, set yourself back in my shoes. What do you recommend for me to get started into this business?
Whatever your interest is within broadcast journalism, be a consumer of that discipline, whether it's sports or weather or news or consumer reporting, whatever it may be. You have to be a news consumer. Have that insatiable appetite. And there are some fundamental characteristics that successful people in our business have. And one of them is you have to be curious. You have to wonder why things happen. And why did that person do that? You have to be a good listener. You also have to know that if you're getting into broadcast journalism, chances are you're going to start in small market and you're not going to make any money and you're going to work every holiday. It really is that classic, you've got to pay your dues, but you really do. But don't look at it that way. Again, every day is a learning opportunity because as you're starting out, the higher you get in market size, the more pressure there is, and the margin for error shrinks. Because when you're in Chicago and you make a big mistake, you're out of work. If you're working in Peoria, Illinois, and make a mistake, you learn from it and you get to come back the next day and try it again and try to do it better. Hands-on experience. I talked about that a little bit earlier. When I was interviewing for jobs, I graduated with a 4.0 in my major, 3.85 overall, right? I played that up on my resume. I was proud of that. Yeah. Not one person who ever interviewed me for a job talked about my grades. Now, I'm not suggesting they're not important because they are. Do the best you can in school. Those numbers matter. Think about it. If you're coming for a job and it's between you and your 3.8 against the other person who has a 2.0, advantage you. So it matters. But the first place everybody went on my resume beyond the tape was work experience. So take advantage of every internship. Get involved on campus because, again, Western gives you so many great opportunities for hands-on. Classroom instruction is invaluable. Hands-on is invaluable. Yep. Take advantage of both. Pick your professor's brains because a lot of them have been there, done that. But know that it's hard. The competition is stiff. Everybody wants to be on TV, but you need to be a journalist, a storyteller. Be fair and balanced in everything you do. Wipe away the built-in bias. We're telling you, don't be human. And I've done that my whole life. Someone asked me, this is interesting. They said, would you have liked to have been on the Derek Chauvin jury in the George Floyd case? And I said, yes. And they said, but why? I said, because I've spent my whole life being fair, balanced, and without bias. Open mind on everything. Take in the facts and tell the story. That's what that jury had to do.
Well, Tom Kenny, you had such a wonderful, rewarding, and successful career. Did you ever imagine when you got started at WIU back in the late 70s that this is how your life would turn out?
Not at all. I just wanted to broadcast. And I was hoping somebody would give me an opportunity to do it. And my experience and the foundation that Western built for me, second to none. I cherish it daily. I remember Leslie Malpass was the president of Western when I was there. I remember early on in my career, I was so involved on campus. I happened to see him in the administration building, and he called me by my name and said, "Hey, Tom, the university president just..." I could have been done right there.
Yeah.
That was the greatest thing in the world. But believe me, Western Illinois University, they give you all the tools to be successful. with great professors, great counselors, great instructors on a great campus, despite having to walk across Q Lot in the winter.
Well, Tom, you've done the university so proud, and we're thankful for this time that you've been able to share with us on the podcast.
Oh, it has been my honor.
And thanks to everyone for tuning in each week. Remember to join me again next week for another conversation with a WIU alumnus. Until then, stay safe, take care, and God bless.